criminal record has such good writing that its twists and turns never feel forced. The two performers, Peter Capaldi and Kush Jumbo, are really knocking it out of the park. No one is given time to sulk over what is happening to their characters, and they get into action mode pretty quickly. The stakes keep getting higher and higher, and in the 5th episode, Lenka's son Jacob gets into trouble. It all happens because Lenka approaches Clive, the one who murdered Maria, and finds out that Tony Guilfoyle had connections to a neo-Nazi group. Tony, being one of the key members of Heggardi's group, creates a lot of problems, and in the end, it's Heggardi who is left to deal with the mess. The episode tried to explain how Errol Mathies could have confessed, given that he had no recollection of his memories after his accident, which was turned his attempt at committing suicide. Sonia didn't believe that, and one day Leo's friend, a neuropsychologist, comes in to meet Lenka. Lenka told her about Mathies' case, and she got an explanation of how memories are like oil paintings, with only the latest layer of paint available to us. Heggardi might have painted a new layer on top of his memory and made Errol confess. Lenka, who didn't want to make a hypnotist out of Heggardi, wasn't really convinced, but reading about the far-right groups mentioned by Carla in the previous episode did remind her that Clive was also connected to them. She went to meet him in prison, showing him the photos of Heggardi and his men, out of which Clive identified Tony Guilfoyle, who very much shared the ideology and was popular as well. Lenka managed to give Tony a panic attack when she reached out to him, asking about his connection with the neo-Nazi organization known as Bloodline. Lenka had shaken up the 62, it seemed, but Heggardi was the least bothered, which was surprising. Kim came running up to him, telling him how Lenka was interrogating Tony, but Heggardi's demeanor remained unchanged. He didn't want anyone to take a rash decision and spoil everything, but Kim did just that. He got Jacob, Lenka's 12-year-old son, arrested for the possession of meth with the intent to sell. Maureen, Jacob's grandmother, who had had a terrible experience with the police, went into a panic thinking about how to get Jacob out. When Lenka found out about it, she realized that it was a message to her, and she began to blame Heggardi. Leo, Lenka's husband, was getting fed up with her fixation on the man and did not want Jacob to grow up thinking that the whole world was against him. But Lenka was certain, and she had to give a strong reply to the message, because if she didn't, Heggardi would get the wrong idea that she had been successfully deterred. Heggardi was actually quite furious over what Kim had done. He had essentially fueled the fire that Heggardi had so far managed to tame. Now, Lenka had essentially no option but to go against Heggardi, Kim, and Tony. Heggardi had advised Kim not to take an irrational step, and contacting subordinate officers and getting Jacob arrested was one of the stupidest things he could have done in that scenario. Heggardi took Kim for a ride and damaged his car as a punishment for lashing out and his actions that were not necessary. But Lenka didn't know all this. She just thought that Heggardi was the one pulling all the strings. The mysterious man shown at the end of the previous episode was working for Sonia and had followed Heggardi to a carpet shop. Sonia told Lenka that the shop was run by a man named Mansour, and he allegedly dealt in heroin and all sorts of other drugs. Perhaps Heggardi was an addict, for which he needed the extra cash he was moonlighting as a chauffeur for. Lenka now had the perfect way to go against Heggardi's bullying, but the truth was stranger than fiction, as it turned out. Lenka took the information from Sonia and went ahead and arrested Mansour. She didn't take him to the station though, and asked Mansour to notify Heggardi about the arrest. Heggardi arrived at the spot where Lenka wanted to meet him, and for the first time he was on the back foot. Heggardi now understood that she was probably having him followed, which is how she knew about Mansour. But he kept his cool and asked her to let Mansour go, for he was an asset. He tried to make him look like he was working for the police, but Lenka had done her homework and found no trace of Mansour in the system. She also tried to get him into a corner by talking about how his old pal Tony was part of a neo-Nazi group. Heggardi answered with the same old thing about working undercover. The real reason Lenka wanted to pressure Heggardi was to get him to remove Jacob's record from the criminal record. Heggardi didn't let the opportunity go, and he assured her that he would take care of it, but she had to let Mansour go. Mansour was free to go, and later it became clear why Heggardi wanted him out of Lenka's custody. It was all related to his daughter Lisa, who was an addict. Heggardi knew about her addiction and was buying the drugs from Mansour for her sake. It was like Lisa was using drugs under Heggardi's supervision. This could be because he didn't want Lisa to overdose and knew fully well that there was no chance for a teenager like that to overcome her urges. Perhaps he saw it fit to let her have the drugs after Heggardi had carefully planned out the dosage. Lenka had no idea about Lisa or her drug abuse issue, but it would become a problem if word got out. Heggardi wasn't aware of the relationship between Lisa and Patrick. He was going to get the shock of a lifetime though, when one fine morning he came to check in on Patrick and found Lisa in the room with him. Heggarty did not burst out at Patrick, but it was Lisa who was pushed around. Heggarty wanted her to come with him, but she didn't take too kindly to Heggarty's heavy-handedness. She started to make a scene, refusing to go with him. Heggarty, on the other hand, could only say things that made matters worse. He brought up her drug use, and we got confirmation of why he was giving her the drugs. As expected, it was to prevent her from getting them elsewhere and risking an overdose. Lisa called him out on his care and generosity, and even went to the extent of calling Heggarty a lonely old man who was afraid that she too would leave if he stopped acting as her dealer. Lisa's mother had probably committed suicide because she was constantly harassed by Heggarty. His whole approach to relationships was as if they were cases to be solved, and Lisa didn't mince her words when telling this to him. Heggarty didn't have accounted to any of it, nor could he act like a responsible father, being there for his daughter when she was having a meltdown. He went away only to return and find Lisa had left Patrick's house and gone away. Obsessed with Errol Mathai's case, Lenka got all the case files, went through them, and got her hands on Heggarty's police logs. She had such an astute eye for detail that she found a time gap between the time the doctors had cleared Mathais to be interrogated and the time between when he actually was. In between those times, Heggarty had waited, but for what purpose? Lenka talked to Sonia about it, and she had a lukewarm reaction to her findings. The theory Lenka came up with was that perhaps Heggarty was waiting for a lawyer to be assigned, one he knew could be made to work against Mathais. The lawyer who was present during Errol Mathai's confession was a man named Ross Cardona, and Lenka had a meeting with him. She tried to get a sense of whether Ross was in cahoots with Heggarty, but Ross did not reveal anything about the case once he heard Heggarty's name. He was clearly working for him and later gave Heggarty a call, informing him that Lenka had come to inquire about the Mathais case. Tony's time was up, it seemed, as Lenka was just intuitively finding all the clues that would help her land him in prison. One such example of Lenka's intuition was on display when she read multiple derogatory comments online on the articles about the police department's chief, Claudia Mayhew. She was a woman who was bringing in various changes in the department, making it a more diverse space, which Tony despised. This opinion wasn't one he had shared to anyone except Heggarty perhaps, but he had used an anonymous account to post the derogatory comments. Lenka visited Tony and saw his reaction when she mentioned the anonymous account and grew more certain than ever that she was right in her intuition that the account belonged to Tony. She went ahead and explained her suspicion to Claudia herself, and as a threat to life had been made online, there was enough cause to search Tony's house. Heggarty tried his best to cover up all the evidence that could make Tony look guilty in the matter, but Lenka had been made the investigating officer in this particular case, overriding Heggarty's authority. What little hope there was for Tony vanished the moment Doris, Errol's mother, came to meet him. In the previous episode, Doris had been told about the Hayes Lane caller, and that gave her hope that Errol had a chance. However, when Doris went into Whitecross prison to meet her son, he didn't share her enthusiasm. She was made to feel like her efforts didn't mean anything, and later she met Letitia, who was betrayal embodied as far as Doris was concerned. Letitia had come to apologize for giving away information related to what Doris was trying to do to help Errol's case. Doris found out about Tony's involvement in all of this, and the volatile Doris paid him a visit. Tony was flustered enough by Lenka's visit that he tried to dodge Doris and get away. He got in his car, backed out, and next thing we knew, he had run Doris over, killing her on the spot. It didn't exactly look like he had done so on purpose, but perhaps there were unconscious motivations that had taken over him and made him forget that he was putting a nail in his own coffin. Errol's confession was the biggest mystery in the case. He had first said that he didn't remember anything after his accident, and that raised the question, how did he remember exactly how he had murdered his girlfriend, Adelaide Burrows? If Errol had not killed her, then how did he remember the details of the case? Tony was behind bars, and his house had been searched for evidence regarding the online threat case. Lenka, however, got her hands on a CD with a video on it, which gave her the answers she had been looking for. Heggarty was emotionally at his weakest, as he had turned the world upside down to search for Lisa, even missing important meetings. At such a point, he was mentally unable to play this game of chess with Lenka, who seemed to have persisted in her endeavor. It is possible that Heggarty would tell her the truth about what exactly went down in the case and why he needed Errol to confess to a crime he had not committed. How was Lenka so sure? Well, the video on the CD was the recording of Errol's confession. In it, Heggarty could be seen giving instructions to Errol, pointing his pen to the areas of the body where Adelaide had been stabbed. That was the way he had gotten a confession which was consistent with the crime, and now Haggerty knew she had the recording. Whether or not Haggerty will try one last time to save his hide remains an interesting question for the upcoming episodes, but as of now, Lenka has the upper hand, and she has almost solved the case. The only thing she doesn't know is the why of the case. Why did Haggerty do all that he did? We will surely know in the upcoming 2 episodes. Haggerty, on the other hand, was just relieved that he had found Lisa. In fact, it was Patrick who did. The answers to why Haggerty was fathering Patrick are also hidden in the why Lenka is after. The series is coming to a scintillating finish, and maybe who knows if there is a twist remaining in this tale.